What's your favorite breakfast in the world? I'm here today to tell you about mine. It's not an easy breakfast to find or to make. You can't really buy it, and in order to eat it, you have to be in the right place and at the right time. Now, this breakfast isn't cheese, but in order to get it, you have to go to a cheesemaker. So that's exactly what Ava and I did one early morning.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful wizard of cheese.
You should tell him. You should sing to him this song.
We are at our local goat farm. This is where we buy most of our cheese. Let's go meet the owner.
Buongiorno, io sono Giovanni Alampi, e questa è la mia fattoria.
Okay, he makes one of the best cheese in the world. In order to make cheese, is obvious that we need some milk. So what Giovanni is going to do now is milk the goats.
Johnny has, I think, about like 80 goats. He has to milk those goats 2 times every single day. We've been friends with Giovanni for years, and we've actually seen him grow. And for instance, just a couple years ago, he didn't even have that milking machine. He was milking those 80 goats every day, twice a day, all by hand. Now, a little bit of background about Johnny. His father was a goat shepherd, a cheesemaker, but Johnny actually left the farm and became a professional chef. He knows good food, but something happened as he got older and he had a desire to go back to his roots and become a goat shepherd again himself. And I love seeing him work because you can really tell how much he loves what he does, and more importantly, loves his goats.
Come si chiama?
Fiocchina che ce l'ha qua sulla testa.
E questa?
Greta.
Greta. Ogni capra ha
Ogni capo
un
ha il suo
nome.
nome. Sì. C'è Minda, c'è Bianchina, Testa Nera, Mascherina.
Oh, una ma chiama Evelina.
Come?
Evelina,
Evelina.
come un nome mio.
I don't know if we've ever said on the channel that Ava's full name is Evelina. I don't think we've ever mentioned that. No, once. Yeah, Ava is short for Evelina. Now you know. Turns out one of the goats he hadn't given a name to yet. So now it's named Evelina.
So that one's Evelina?
See, the black one, she's Evelina.
The black sheep?
The black sheep.
Black
the
goat.
Sheep, the black goat.
Even using a milking machine and not doing it by hand, it still takes a while to milk 80 goats. But finally, after a lot of waiting, we had our milk. And that meant it was time to make some cheese.
So before you met Giovanni, actually Giovanni is not the real cheesemaker, because the real cheesemakers are Roxy and Maria. They are 2 wonderful women that takes care of from the milk until the cheese and then the ricotta cheese.
Buongiorno.
So Roxy is Johnny's wife. She and Maria handle the much more important task of actually making the cheese, while Johnny takes care of the goats. All of the milk was poured into these 2 giant pots, each of which was mounted over a big burner.
The first step to make the cheese is heating up the milk.
Allora, a questo punto abbiamo già scolato il latte
Okay.
e lo stiamo riscaldando. Lo giriamo, giusto per farlo accerchire sul fondo, e controlliamo la temperatura.
Now I just want to emphasize this because I find this cool. But everything you're about to see is the process for making almost all cheese. Now, there are specialty cheeses that require some sort of starter culture to do different weird things with them. But every kind of basic normal cheese you can find, whether it's parmigiano-reggiano, pecorino romano, or in this case caprino, which just means goat cheese, is made in exactly the same way. The only real thing that makes different cheeses out of this process is the choice of milk and how long you age the cheese.
A quale temperatura della regale?
Allora, dipende dalle giornate. Tipo, se è fuori è caldo possiamo farla arrivare anche a 26-27 gradi. Se invece fuori fa freddo, pure a 31-32.
Warm milk is great and all, but in order to get cheese, you gotta add one more ingredient.
Giovanni, che cos'è questo?
Questo è il taglio del capretto che aggiungiamo per far coagulare il latte.
So this is the interior part of the stomach that is scraped out, and then is the enzyme that is used to coagulate the milk.
People ask us a lot, how do they get the rennet out of the goat's stomach? I'll put it this way. Calabrians don't just eat goat cheese, they also eat goat meat. Now, a lot of people make their own cheese at home, and if you do that and you buy rennet, it usually comes in maybe a liquid form or a tablet that dissolves in water. There's none of that here. These are pure scrapings from the inside of a goat stomach. So what Roxy does to dissolve this in the milk is she wraps it up in a little piece of cloth, a little piece of like cheesecloth or something.
Siamo pronti.
And then she'll actually swirl it around in the milk, rubbing it against her palm, and it'll slowly dissolve into the liquid.
Allora, adesso che abbiamo cagliato, dobbiamo aspettare all'incirca un'ora perché coaguli il tutto. Quindi ci vediamo tra un'ora.
And while we wait, a quick word from today's video sponsor.
If you've ever traveled internationally, you no doubt have had the experience of trying to figure out how the heck to use your cell phone while you're abroad. Usually your normal domestic phone service provider will charge you an arm and a leg for data roaming. You of course can get a plan and a SIM card in the country you're visiting, but that always comes with a bunch of strings attached. We have lots of people come and visit us here in Italy, and we always recommend UBG. UBG is an app that allows you to get eSIM data plans in over 200 destinations worldwide. If you're not familiar, an eSIM is an electric SIM card. You don't need to actually go into a cell phone store and get one of those stupid little cards and find the little pin to open your phone. Your data plan is just loaded through the app. Most people, when they travel, they don't really need a traditional cell phone plan. Most of us want data, so you can access the internet, you can use your GPS so you don't get lost, you can check your email. UBG will give you the data that you need at very competitive prices and with no commitment. It's a breeze. You can just set it up before your trip and it'll activate as soon as you're at your destination. The coverage is very strong because UBG often has multiple local partnerships, so they'll find the best data signal for you. Don't be fooled into paying extra for cell phone data. Visit the link in the description below and use promo code PASTAGRAMMAR to get 10% off. A big thank you to UBG for sponsoring today's video.
Trascorso un'ora, il latte è cagliato.
Quindi è diventato bello solido e adesso noi andiamo a rompere la cagliata. Inizialmente la rompo con le mani, va rotta con le mani.
So, this adorable little girl is Luna. This is one of Maria's daughters. I think one of 6 children she has. This was the first time I'd ever met Luna, and she looked at me like I was an alien from another planet, which I probably look like. I sort of stand out here in rural Calabria.
Io poi mi aiuto con questo, in modo tale da romperlo il più possibile. Una volta rotta la nostra cagliata, adesso lo andiamo a raccogliere in modo da separare la pasta dal liquido. Questo è un processo che va fatto delicatamente.
This part blows me away. If I had never seen cheese being made, and I just had to guess how you separate the liquids from the solids, I would think that there would be some sort of mechanical kind of filtration system. Nope, every cheesemaker I've seen here, they all do exactly the same thing. And it's wild. They're literally just, with their hands, pushing down all of the curds very, very slowly into the bottom of the pot. They're physically, with their hands, separating the whey from the curds.
Allora si fa molto delicatamente perché la pasta va raccolta tutta sotto. Facendo molto velocemente e non in modo delicato, difficilmente riusciamo a raccogliere la pasta. Questo è un processo che va fatto piano piano.
And a strong back.
Yeah, the very strong back. And every time that I see them making the cheese, I think how soft their eye and their arms and hands are, because spending every day in the milk is better than Cleopatra.
And all of a sudden, we've got cheese.
Grigiato, come potete notare, si intravede già la tuma. Ok, adesso è pronta per metterla nelle coscelle per creare le formette di formaggio.
Now, probably obviously, what they want to make are solid wheels of cheese. You don't normally just go to a store and just get the crumbly curds of cheese. In order to do that, you have to shape the curds into these molds. And no matter how many times I see it, it always blows me away how much they put into each mold. Maria's just piling on what seems like an impossible amount of cheese curds into each mold. And every time I can't help but thinking, there's no way you're going to get that all in there. Oh, but she will. Just wait, that isn't even all of it. There's a lot more going in there.
Allora, una volta tolta tutta la pasta dal liquido, lo andiamo ad accendere.
Now the process of making my breakfast begins. All that liquid that's left over after you get all the cheese curds out, that's the whey. But do they throw it away? Heck no. Instead, they heat it right back up. While the whey is heating up though, it's time to begin the most arduous and longest part of the cheesemaking process, which is squeezing all those cheese curds into the mold. It's very, very important to squeeze as much whey out as possible. You don't want pockets of liquid in your cheese. And you can't just do it with some sort of hydraulic press or something. You have to very, very gently spend a long time squeezing it down into the mold.
Maria, da quanti anni fai il formaggio?
Io da 9 anni, sì. Ho iniziato a fare il formaggio con mia suocera, cioè se io so fare il formaggio è perché mi ha insegnato lei. E lei faceva il formaggio e io venivo a dargli una mano. Quindi quello che so fare grazie a mie suocere.
So you might have noticed, but Roxy had been gone for a while. That's because she was busy taking care of her brand new baby boy. She and Giovanni just had a son. He's maybe about a month old. Already the job of Roxy and Maria is so crazy and difficult and takes so much time. But even when like Roxy has a newborn baby, she's still there making cheese every day. As the morning progressed, even more of Maria's kids started to appear.
Buongiorno.
As As soon as Dad was done feeding the goats, he was back in to help take care of the baby.
Quanti giorni di vacanza avete?
You know, I said that they make cheese every day. That is a literal fact. Goats don't know what vacations are. They don't know what Christmas is or what your birthday is. They make milk every day, and you have to be there to milk them, and you're sure not gonna throw the milk away. The cheese pressing was continuing on, slowly but surely, and at the same time, the whey was getting warmer. At this point, Roxy added salt into the whey, all just by eye, of course. The only other thing she adds in is a little bit of whole milk. Whey, salt, and a little bit of milk. Sure enough, as impossible as it always seems to me, the wheels of cheese were finally taking shape. They actually started to look like wheels of cheese, and it was right about then that my breakfast started to rise. What you're looking at there is ricotta. As I've said on the channel before, ricotta literally just means recooked, because that's exactly what you do. After you make cheese, you take the whey, you recook it, and extra little bits of proteins and fats that are still in the whey will rise up to the top. And it's really not cheese because you actually don't use any rennet to make it. It's a byproduct of cheese making, but it's not cheese itself. And now that we had my beloved ricotta, it was time to eat my favorite breakfast in the entire world.
Grazie.
Cosa aspetti, Giovanni?
Wow.
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 And you're gonna get it. So this is one of my favorite things in the entire world. It's a traditional thing that shepherds used to eat in the morning because they're out there, they're making their cheese and their ricotta and stuff. And it's just hot, fresh ricotta over stale bread, and the whey soaks into the bread. And it is just one of the best things ever. Buon appetito. Wow. Wow. As Ava would say, breakfast of champions. After seeing these guys work, we can all agree that cheesemakers are champions. And this is something that you cannot buy in a store, even here in Italy. It is not for sale. You have to come to a cheesemaker and be there, like we did today when they're making the cheese, to have this.
But it is more than worth the waiting.
Speaking of which, if you go to visitdosa.com, you can be here for this. You can come and visit. All are welcome.
Okay, I had my ricotta, which is all well and good. But obviously they have a ton of ricotta that they sell, just like they do their cheese. In this case, it's much simpler than making the cheese. You just scoop it out into these different little sizes, and Johnny will actually go drive around to several local little towns around in the area and deliver them right to people's doors. It's pretty awesome. You just have fresh ricotta delivered to your door, made that morning. Now, okay, I'll be honest, I was there mostly for the ricotta, but I should touch back on the cheese and explain what happens next. You might have noticed that there was no salt added into the cheese at any point. Once those cheese wheels are formed and they've had a chance to dry, those wheels will be soaked in a brine, that's how it becomes salty, and then they're just aged. You can age them for just a few weeks or a few months and have a kind of soft, fresher cheese. Or you can age them for a really long time and get a very firm, strong cheese. You can also do things like coating the outside in Calabrian chili pepper. It's pretty good. And we couldn't leave without picking some up for ourselves.
Grazie di tutto. Grazie a voi.
Grazie.
Ci vediamo alla prossima.
Ciao.
Ciao,
Grazie,
ci
Giovanni.
vediamo.
Only one thing left to do. Tito. Rapi.
A huge thank you to Giovanni, to Roxy, to Maria, to the whole family for having us over. I hope you guys enjoyed this look at how traditional Italian cheese is made and how my favorite breakfast is made. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time. Ciao.
Look, kids, cheesemaking can be very lucrative. It'll even get you a Lamborghini.